Welcome to the bold analysis. The latest development in this country about the number of civil servants and led by people or the personnel in the security sector that are joining the revolt against government is something that cannot be let to go, especially by the Ruto administration. And for quite some time, the country has been talking about the number of people that were killed, or rather unclaimed bodies. In just 2 months, a month after the deadly protests in the country, in the city mortuary, a report was leaked out. And this report was leaked out that for the first time, city mortuary received 247 bodies. And this is 87 above the average just in that month of protests. And according to the Public Health Chief Officer Tom Nyakaba, the mortuary receives an average of 60 bodies a month. But the latest development raises questions on concerns on the number of people who lost lives during the month-long demonstration, with the exact figures not yet known. According to the data recorded between 25th of June and 26th July, and based on a police register, the morgue had 115 bodies registered as unknown. That's a staggering figure. 115 bodies in Nairobi only registered as unknown. When Miguna spoke about this, and Miguna estimated the figure at 600. And maybe we said Miguna is not sensible. But it could even be the range of that. Out of these, 60 are still in the mortuary as unidentified or unclaimed, with relatives or next of kin unaware of their presence in the facility. The other 55 bodies were registered as unknown, but were later identified by relatives or the next of kin, according to that report. On the other hand, 102 bodies are admitted with full names and relatives or next of kin were aware of them. The remainder were body parts admitted in connection with the quarry incident, 17 of which are still unidentified and awaiting DNA identification. The figure is rounded off by 13 fetuses or perinatal corpses admitted as unidentified, according to data compiled by government pathologist Dr. Sylvia Maingi. The figures are very alarming, and it's coinciding with the time when the Gen Z protests were going on. Ladies and gentlemen, and this information has been leaked out nearly after a month. I've just been following this since morning, and I was asking how did this information came out? Why? Because it's still been there, and at some point someone was even saying that you would go and find an identified body, but the neck and the body are not, from the head and the body are not the same. At some point, I don't know, it's interchanged or what. So the bodies are badly deformed. That it's really made it difficult for relatives to identify bodies just using the anatomy of those bodies. So this is a concern that has been there, and this is a critical message that has been leaked out by some serious fellows within the city mortuary. Now there is a stream of civil servants that are now coming out loudly to join the protest. And this is part of it. Just today, there is a story that has been out here of a police officer that has come out to regret about how government is handling the sector.
The treasury and the what all discipline services, and our question is, why is it that all times whenever there is money supposed to be paid to the prison officers, the office with the mandate Amerix unanipata?
We endelea tuambie.
Amerix, hello,
Go on.
Unanipata?
Cyprian, can you hear him?
Hello, Amerix.
Hello, Cyprian, can you hear him?
Amerix, unanipata? Amerix.
Go on, tunakusikia.
Yeah, like unapatikana. Uko sawa.
Unanipata? So majamaa anasema ati kila time ama jamaa akituongezea pesa lazima wanatusema for mungoje 1 month, 2 months ama 3 months ndo tuweke hiyo pesa. Alafu hawekangi do yote, wanaekanga kidogo kama 1k. Kama last time hiyo mwezi wa 8 ilifaa tupewe 1200. Alafu mi kama mimi nilipata 186 bob. So majamaa anauliza kama wanauliza kama hiyo pesa ya mashujaa, hiyo siku ya parade ya mashujaa yenye ilikuwa Bungoma, maafisa wengi walilia juu hiyo pesa walikata. Sijui nasikia watu walikuwa wanapata 15k 20k, unlike majamaa wengine wa KDF walikuwa wanalipwa pesa mingi. Issue ingine ya pili ni issue ya uniform, yani like maafisa wanashangaa mbona wakubwa wa prison wanafaa compact, alafu sisi wadogo tunaambiwa tusifanye hiyo compact. Sasa majamaa nauliza like kwani uniform sinafaa kuwa same, alafu ukifanya hiyo compact wanakushtaki. Hiyo ni issue ingine. Issue ingine ni story na housing. Like maafisa wengi hapa kwa kambi wanaishi manyumba zingine sinakaa bana, inakaa refugee camp bana. Inakaa like sijui nyumba ni ya bricks, mabati nyingine mbofu, nyumba zingine hata zinanyesha. Alafu wakubwa wanapatanga house allowance mingi, unapata hizo manyumba za korofa wao ndo wanaishi. Story ingine ni story na hizi working conditions. Like matawa mingi hapa ndani, matawa mingi hata ukienda Kamiti, tawa ni mbaya, unapata sijui matawa ziko na kunguni. Yaani zingine zinanyesha. Alafu ofisa akiingia huko hakuna kutoka. Baridi ndo hiyo, ukishuka wanakushtaki. Sasa majamaa wameboeka, ground ni mbaya, ground ni hostile. Alafu story ingine ni story na about hizi mabunduki. Like mabunduki mingi watu wanasema ati hizi vitu zimekuwa ovyo, zimekuwa fake, yani like zimekuwa ni vitu za kitambo. So majamaa maskari wanasema tunataka weapons zingine mpya, hatutaki hizi vitu ya kitambo ati sijui nini, tunataka vitu zingine mpya. Alafu kitu ingine pia majamaa wanasema most inmates in most prisons are either in civilian dresses and those in uniforms are yote imeraruka. Sasa majamaa anasema na kuna pesa, nasikia kuna pesa imetengwa ya uniform ya wafungwa. Alafu huko ndani pia ati kuna kunguni na kuna pesa imetengwa hizo madawa za kunguni. Sasa majamaa nauliza hii pesa zimeingia wapi? Next story ingine ni story na about, alafu majamaa pia wanauliza kama wetu mbona kama hiyo pesa hiyo 4K ya juzi mbona wakubwa.
Paulo Kimani, ni kama tumepoteza huyu jamaa. These guys must be living in very 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 bad condition. Paulo yes. Malizia, tunakupata vizuri, tunaelewa.
Sasa majamaa wanauliza mbona wakubwa wetu waliwekewa hiyo 4K alafu sisi hatukuwekewa, alafu wanasema ati hakuna cycle. Sasa wanauliza wewe
kupata kitu bwana?
Wapi? Sikupata mzee.
How are you surviving?
Tuna survive tu. Unaenda mtaani kidogo, unakaa na mahindi, unasukuma maisha kidogo hivyo. Wengine majamaa wakifunga kazi wanaingia kwa ndudhi. Lazima tu yani yani life imekuwa ngumu man, life imekuwa ngumu mbaya sana. Alafu wakubwa wengi kama ni chakula wao wanajipea. nyumba mzuri, wao ndo wanaishi nyumba mzuri. Sasa unashangaa bana, hawa watu wanataka tuishi aje?
And you are the one who was supposed to take care of the prisoners.
Sisi ma constable ndo tunachunga ama jamaa mkubwa, hakuna hawa wanakaanga tu kwa ofisi bro.
Na ile story wanasemanga ati nyinyi ungana na au kamiti sugu muibie watu M-Pesa na nini, ni ukweli? Hello. Yes, Alex. I was asking you.
Hello.
Can you hear us?
Hello, Americ.
Can you hear us?
Americ, hello.
Now that was in a Twitter space, to X space that was going on yesterday night. So different formations are at loggerheads over the government approach. Maraga report really gave some recommendations on how the police issues will actually be addressed. Sometimes I believe that the people in the security sector are also deserve the fairness and the decent living. But looking at some of the conduct of the rogue elements just around it, you fail to sympathize, and that is why even if they regret, they can't seem to look at them and say, Onyalo, like it's fine with you. So different formations are already talking about the uniform, talking about the salary, and all that. So they are part of the team. In fact, if there is a team that has been supporting and shielding President Ruto, are the security formations, because even despite of blatant human rights violations that even Rigathi Gachagua was confessing yesterday, it is very true that some of these security formations, some elements within the security formations have been a letdown and have been behind those breaches of human rights, or rather, those violations. So the first bit of it is that some critical government officers are releasing critical information, because the public's informations come out, the public will join the dots. If you're saying for that month there are more bodies unidentified, and that is just here, how about Kisumu, how about Nairobi, how about where? Really, you need to, how about other towns, how about Kisii, how about Mombasa? You really need to agree that things are not looking that good. Or rather, some people are really quite a number of people that were killed during the protest. So, security forces are once revolting. Number two, the Kenya Aviation Authority staff are also up in arms and are joining the members of public to call out government on that Adani JKA deal. That Adani JKA deal, government seemed to be supporting it outrightly. I saw some recent statement from, I think that was from some of pro-government bloggers linking Jimmy Wanjigi to it, that Jimmy Wanjigi wanted that deal or this of that. But you can see that even civil servants are raising their voices against it. Do you know, someone was telling me that NHIF has a problem. NHIF has been one of the most dependable scheme for the civil servants. Of course, their package is better compared to the other ones for the other civilians, but the civil servants, police, even their health scheme, their health insurance was even scrapped. It had a challenge. It really had a challenge. So this is part of the concerns that are being raised. And that is why people sometimes need to learn that, despite of, I remember when young people are going to the street, they were telling the security officers that you're beating us, you are arresting us, you're tormenting us, but we are also fighting for your rights. That is true. Now, if NHIF is not working for all of us, then it's not only the Gen Z that suffer. Everyone else is in that line. Unleashing the military was a big low, was Kenyan's lowest moment. And of course, these are some of the things that have really raised concerns. Civil servants have been skipping absenteeism, have been absent in their offices during days of the protest. And I think I saw a clip by Nelson Koech, the Belgut member of parliament, recently was even saying in parliament that they want to pass a legislation so that any civil servant who will not report to work on a day because of protest, or rather because of participating on a protest or so, will find it rough. That happened. So it's not something, and they wanted to pass some legislation on that because probably they felt that because these people are not going to work, then these people are part of the protest. There was a video, you must have seen it, where police caught up with a gentleman who was supposed to be a police recruit, or was just supposed to be was just a police officer, but he was found in the uniform. There are two instances. Police caught up with him. There is the other one who was also protesting, and something happened to him. I think he went missing at some point. I don't know. Something happened to him. Of course, he was also stripped from the service. So the outcry is loud, and I think there is every reason for the country to learn and to understand that someday, maybe not today, not tomorrow, someday, even those who believe will be able to support and protect power may not be able to protect power. And even if they're protecting power, they're protecting power under those instructions. But there comes a time when everyone says enough is enough. Now, this outcry by civil servants should be shaking President Ruto, because he's been banking on the police to suppress the protests. That has been his line. The police have been in the front line, been put there to suppress the protest and unleashed in the community. The second thing you can see is the signal of internal discontent, or rather discomfort, can actually fuel the rage. For example, some discontent officers, some people, they must just sabotage. You unleash them with all those instructions or all those manner of allowances promised, but they still sabotage. Sometimes they might even fuel from the background. So it's a big blow that President Ruto must actually pay attention to. The other thing is that the justice system was the one that is used and disabused, or rather abused, to discredit and suppress the protest. If you look at, if prison officers are crying out and asking for help, this is where you expect to go and put protesters. In fact, they were threatening that if the issues are not addressed, then they will be left with no option but to free serious crimes offenders, serious offenders from the prisons. I don't know whether that will be reasonable. In fact, no. Maybe they will just release protesters who are fighting for the country. The system laxity will affect service delivery to some extent. When you deal with a team that is disjointed and feel like they don't belong, then clearly they may not feel attached with government. And through that, service delivery will be affected. Thank you.